there. Today I thought we would look at decks I'm kind of using this season, and it's already January. It's kind of dark here, so I may run out of light. It's 5 o'clock. I'm off work, but um, it's already getting dark here. So we'll try and get through this today. I may have to go back and film some of it later. So what I was going to do is just kind of look at the decks that I was going to use this season, the decks that I'm trying to use. It's not just for this month. I have not used the Fountain Tarot since I got it. I've got rid of it 3 times. And so I'm finally trying to just use it. For some reason, I never pull it. So I'm going to kind of, I already picked out the decks I want to use, and I created a little tag so that if somebody else wants to do this, it might be kind of fun. So I'm going to give you some prompts for the decks that I picked. So the first one is Frost-Kissed Reflections, a deck that captures the serenity of winter. And I picked the Fountain Tarot, which is a mass market deck, and I'm just going to use it this season and see what I think of it. I keep buying it, and then I never end up using it, and then I get rid of it, and I buy it again. So I'm finally just going to use it this month. I think it is an incredibly beautiful deck, and I always hear how much everybody loves it. I do think it's gorgeous. It always feels a little bit cold to me, but we're definitely in a colder, sorry, that was a mosquito, colder season right now. Like our days, the highest we get practically is 60 right now, and it's getting down into the 40s at night. So it's been fairly cold, and I can tell now that the light is shifting. I mean, it's still dark, but we're starting to come out of the darkness a little bit. I can start telling that nights aren't as dark as fast, and mornings are brighter. And like right now, I'm looking, and the moon is up, and it's almost a full moon. And I don't think it is actually a full moon, but it looks like a full moon right now. Anyway, so I'm starting to feel like we're finally coming out of that winter time, but it's still colder here than it typically is. And so I thought this might be a good time to try and use this deck, and I'm just going to do it and see what I think. And so this is the Fountain Tarot. It is quite a beautiful deck, though, and I've always heard people love it. I don't know what it is with me in this deck and why sometimes it's hard for me to want to use it. I just don't quite understand. But hopefully I just get through that this month and end up using it, and I'll either like it or I won't. But I've already decided I'm not getting rid of this deck again because I've gotten rid of it and bought it too many times. It's the only deck I've ever done that with. Anyway, beautiful deck. Here's the title card. And then here's the box. Always like to have a Marseille in my practice that I'm working with. And so I picked the Legendarium, which was a Kickstarter that I backed. And for this prompt, I picked Wild and Whimsical, a deck with playful and fantastical art. And this, to me, has very playful art. So I picked this one. And I love that it's a pip deck, and it's like Marseille style. I just think this deck's beautiful, and it feels very wintry to me because it's got a lot of grays. And it's got a limited color palette. And I think this one's really fun. I think this is still around. It's an indie deck. It was a Kickstarter that I got in 2024, probably June or July. And so I think it's up maybe on Etsy or something. Anyway, I'll link it below, and I'll get all that information for you. But this is a fun one, and I know that there's some Marseille studies going on, and so I thought this might be a fun one to use. And so I thought, and I mean, I've studied Marseille, but and I've played with it for a long time, but I thought it would be fun to participate in the groups anyway. So this is the Legendarium. I kind of think this is just a beautiful deck. And it's unique. So I thought it would be a fun thing to use. It comes with a little coin too. And I don't always end up using those that much. All right, next is a deck that is mass market. I've had this forever. I never use it, and I want to use it. So it was my most, I think it's my most expensive mass market deck that I've bought. This is a deck that is very beautiful. I'm sure you've seen it. It's the Fyodor Pavlov Tarot. So my prompt for this was rooted in tradition, a classic deck that sticks to traditional tarot imagery. And this goes its own way, but it sticks to the basic Rider-Waite-Smith imagery. So I picked it for this prompt. And I just thought it was really, I think this deck is gorgeous. And I like how it has so much black in it and that it is a limited color palette. And so I decided I'm finally just going to use this because I used the indie one before. My friend had the indie one. And so I would sometimes use that one, but I haven't used this one. And I got it a while ago, right when it came out. I think it's gorgeous. And I love that there's so much black in it. I just thought that's good for this time of year. So I've been using this already, but it's very fun and I like its spin on things, but it does pretty much stick to the typical RWS symbolism. So it's good to have a deck that does that. And so this is the deck that sticks to the traditional RWS symbolism. This might be in order. I'm not sure. I think it is. Well, probably won't be after this, but. And I like how, like, the cups are blue, the wands are green. So you can tell when you lay things out on the table what everything is, which is kind of nice. Swords are red. And it's not maybe the traditional colors, but that's okay. Anyway, I think it's a beautiful deck. Next deck is Bold and Beautiful, a deck with vibrant, attention grabbing colors. And I like to have one deck that's really bright in the winter. And this is the Radiant Wilds Tarot. And I'm using this deck because it pairs with an oracle I have. So it looks so beautiful with the illuminated deck of Holy Souls. I'll show you that later. Probably not this video because I'm just doing my tarot right now. But so this is a deck that I have never used. I've had it for a while. I think it's gorgeous. It is a little bit like the Serpent Fire style. So that is a thing, but I could use my Serpent Fire maybe too. But anyway, I think the colors are really bright and beautiful, and it feels like the sun and the desert. And so I thought it'd be fun to have one deck like this. And this is a mass market deck. It's available. It doesn't really show faces that much. It just kind of shows the shadows. There's occasionally you can see a face, but it's mostly just shadows and shapes and things. And it's definitely got those vibrant colors. It's really pretty, actually. So maybe it's good to have one bright and sunny deck in the winter. I might go to Hawaii next month for February. But we'll see. There's a lot going on. I've been really busy. I use January kind of as a transition month from one year to the next. All right, I'm still playing with Tarot Obscuro. So for that prompt, the prompt is Shadows and Secrets, a deck that feels mysterious, or you could use for shadow work, but I'm just using it as my mysterious deck. So this deck, I've shown it quite a bit. It's such a beautiful deck. And I know it's kind of got some scary imagery, but it reads kind of like it's just wrapping you up in the winter. It's a cozy deck in this weird way. It's hard to explain. But I like the readings I'm getting from it. And the cardstock is so nice. It's just an unusual deck, and it's quite beautiful. And I'm enjoying the limited color palette and the green. And I know it's a little strange again, but it's loud out here. I could go inside. It's just the light's so good out here. Anyway, I just think this is a cozy deck. I'm having fun with this one this year. And I didn't really want to stop using it. So this one stayed in for this coming season. I think I got it in October, maybe. It was a Kickstarter I backed. It feels kind of wintry, though. It's got a fairly simple color palette. It's not overly busy. I love that judgment card. It's trippy. I just think it's unique. Anyway, so that's the Tarot Obscuro. Okay, next prompt is Gentle Guidance, a soft, nurturing deck for gentle readings. I like to have one kind of gentle deck in the winter. I always like to have one deck that's just soft and sweet. And this one I've had for a really long time, but I love it. I just think it's beautiful. It's soft. It reads really gentle. It's just has this calm feeling, and I enjoy it. So I'm using Ember and Aura for this season as my kind of gentler deck. I like its color palette. It's just so soft and sweet. I don't think this one's around anymore. I think this one's out of print now. I think the creator kind of went a different way. So it's probably available on a used market, but it's not available by the creator anymore. I see it around, though, on Facebook Marketplace and stuff. Anyway, this one's just soft. What do you guys use for a soft deck? Do you have a soft deck in the winter? No, maybe that's just me. Well, no, because I've heard people say they like to have a cozy deck. So this is kind of my cozy deck. A lot of these are kind of cozy, but this one's softer. That's Ember and Aura. All right. Next prompt is Nature's Whisper, a deck that connects you to the earth and natural cycles. And that is the Victorian Fairy Tarot. This one is coming out. I don't know what it's going to look like now. It's coming out soon, sometime this year. So it should be available pretty soon, I think. This is my old one. I've heard the cards are going to be bigger. I'm not sure if that's true. Anyway, this deck definitely has a nature-based feel to it. And so I thought it would be fun to use this month. It does feel a little bit like summer and fall, but I just kind of felt like I wanted a fairy deck. There's some wintry cards, and this one just was the one that I ended up picking and thinking it would be fun to use. I've had this deck for a really long time. It's been out of print for a while. I did back the new one, so we'll see what that looks like. I'm excited to see it. Seems like it's taking longer than I thought it would for it to come out, but I think it's almost done. I think we'll be seeing it soon. And I'm kind of thinking it'll be nice to have the cards a little bit bigger, because these cards are so detailed that in these tarot size cards, it's hard to see everything. I mean, you can see them better than you can the Shadowscape, but it does have like a lot of the fine details that I think you miss in this deck. This deck just sometimes just makes me happy. I just think it's sweet. It's really cute. It's not really how I see fairies, but it's still fun and sweet. So I like it. And it'll be fun to have it back in print. All right, that's the Victorian Fairy. All right, next deck is a deck I've had since the day it came out. It's the Runic Tarot. And for this prompt, I'm going to say cultural mosaic, a deck celebrating a specific culture or mythology. And, you know, I could have picked a lot of different things for this, but I really wanted to use this deck, and I've been missing this one. I love this deck so much. I just think it's gorgeous. It's one of my Norse decks, and I love the art in it. The guidebook's not bad, and I just enjoy using it. There's a lot of cards in here that to me are just beautiful depictions of things. Like, look at that High Priestess. I just think it's gorgeous. Look at that Strength card. Beautiful. Anyway, this is definitely a deck that I treasure. I go back to again and again. And I always love it. I never really get tired of this one. It's available. It's a mass market deck. It's very Norse-based, which I'm like a good portion Norwegian. So it's kind of fun to have a Norse deck. And it's got runes in it. It's got all different types of runes in it. One of my favorite Wheel of Fortune cards of all time. I just think, wow, that's a great depiction and also beautiful. Anyway, there's so many things that I love about this deck that it's just fun for me to use. I really enjoy it. I think it's gorgeous. It's, I think, my prettiest Norse deck, and I have a lot of Norse decks. But this one I think is my favorite. I do really love it. So that's the Runic Tarot. Okay, next prompt is Minimal Magic, a clean, simple deck that focuses on the essentials. And I'm picking Way Home Tarot, and I just wanted to use this deck. I love this deck. And I haven't used it very much the last few years, and I just really wanted to use it. I think it's a gorgeous deck. I really like it. It's not cluttered. It's really simple and clean. Feels like winter. It's just got beautiful depictions. I just really enjoy using it. I see it around fairly often, but I think there's people always are using. Somebody's always using this deck, but I haven't used it in a while, and I thought it would be really fun to play with it again. So there's so many unique things about this deck. There's a lot of cards in here I really love. I just enjoyed this deck overall quite a bit. Look at that 10 of Pentacles. That's so gorgeous. And I love the 9 of Pentacles too. And the 6. Justice. 4 of Wands. How beautiful. The Star. Gorgeous Star. One of my favorite stars. Anyway, the High Priestess, I think is cool. There's a lot of cards in here I really love. And I just think this deck is beautiful. I miss it. I miss playing with it. So I thought I'm going to use it this season. And like I said, I don't really think of the new year as anything that is starting right in January. I kind of give myself from January to February to kind of plan things out and to kind of think about what I want to do. And I use Imbolc as kind of my new year. And January is my transition period. I love this Wheel of Fortune. I love this 9 of Wands. Anyway, I love the 7 of Wands. It's just beautiful. And I think it's still around. It's the Way Home Tarot. Okay, Storybook Charm, a deck that feels like stepping into a fairy tale. And I am going to use the Heartwood Tarot. I used this a little bit last year when I got it. And then I haven't used it the last couple months, and I just think it's so beautiful. Just enjoy this one. or maybe I didn't use it in December, just because I was doing some other practices that took a lot of my time. And so I'm going to go back to using this again. And I just think this is the sweetest deck. And it's just got such a sweet story about a little mouse. And it's really charming. I guess it's a gentle deck too. It's a little story though. I love their tarots, Three Trees tarots. I think they're just so sweet. This one's especially cute to me and especially wonderful. And this one's my favorite so far. Not that I don't love them all, but it's just been my favorite. I just can't quite believe how beautiful it is and how charming. It's so soft and gentle and just so full of wonder and magic and just, it's such a sweet one. And being brave, encountering obstacles and moving on. It's remaining curious. Look at that owl. Oh, it's just so sweet. Anyway, so I'm excited to use this again. And I missed it. So it's back on the table. Yay, I'm so happy. Okay, that is the Heartwood Tarot. That's the box. The deck that keeps the winter feeling, the echoes of winter. Which tarot deck carries the lingering energy of winter even as the season fades away? And you know, we're still in winter, but for me, that is Le Tarot, Les Paysages, Interiors, so passages of the interiors. This is an indie deck. I think this is still around. I don't think there's a ton of them, though. This one just kind of feels like winter all the time. It feels like less sunny than where I am. But it is very beautiful. And very gentle and calming, very wintry feeling. Very in-depth feeling. And I think this is a cool deck. And I haven't been using this for a while, so I thought I'd get it back out. I'm trying to use some of my old decks and some decks that I haven't played with as much this season. And so I brought out not my brand new decks, but more things that I've had before. Trying to use more of my old decks this year. And some of these are, you know, in the last few years, but I'm going to incorporate my new ones in slowly. I have some decks to open that I haven't opened yet. And I'll do that probably in a week or two, but I might just keep using these decks that I have. All right, next deck is the Nameless one. And my prompt is Visionary Vibe, a modern or abstract deck that sparks creativity. So this deck is very modern, it's very different, it's really cool and beautiful, and I used it quite a bit last year, but I didn't do a ton of readings with it, and this year I just want to use it for readings. I don't usually do daily draws, but with this deck I did just because it's so different. And I love this deck. I love the sigils on it. I love the art. It feels magical. I have the big guidebook. And I'm just excited to use this to do readings. There's been a lot of walkthroughs of this one. A lot of people have talked about it. It's very cool and very unique. It's just its own thing. And I'm not using it for just drawing card or two at a time. I'm just going to use it for readings. But I really wanted to go back and revisit this one this year and dig into it a little more. I got to know most of the cards, but I didn't do as many readings with it last year. And so that's what I plan on doing this season. I just think this one's fascinating. It's inspiring. It's really different. And I know a lot of people have talked about this one. I think it's still around. I think you can get it. The guidebook just that comes in the deck is really good. You don't need the big guidebook unless you want to dive a lot deeper into things. But you would be fine without that if you wanted to just get the deck. And there is a sigil on each card. And then there's the art behind it. And people have had mixed responses to that, but I really like it. And I'm excited about this deck. That is the nameless one. All right, next prompt is Cosmic Connection, a celestial or astrology inspired deck. And for this one, I'm picking the 8th house. This is the 2nd edition. The 1st edition is holographic, so it doesn't show up that well on camera. But this deck is available, I think, at the 3rd edition now. I have that. It's got green borders on it. It's got a lot of green in the deck. But this one, it'll tell like Mars and Aries. And so I've had this deck a long time. I bought this one from the creator. I think it's a pretty deck. And I enjoy these. I go back to these again and again. I have all 3 versions of them. I end up using the first 2 the most. So this one probably the most of all. Isn't that beautiful? One day when I was going to New York, I drew that card that morning. The morning I was leaving. It's funny because it says New York here. And I was asking about New York. I got the card that said New York. Anyway, this is a fun deck. And it's my astrological deck. And this fits in well with winter. It could fit into any season, but I like using it in the winter. So this one's a fun one. It is the 8th house. I love that unicorn. I think it's a beautiful deck. It's really different. It's just kind of unique. So, thought I'd pull this out. All right, next is Seasonal Shift, a deck that aligns with the current time of year. And I've shown this deck before. It's the Illusory Dreams Tarot, and it's got just a little guidebook. This is kind of, it's brown and it's pretty earth-toned, but it's really like a deck that feels like the season here. I think it's beautiful. I haven't used it a ton, but I've used it off and on. Anyway, it's very RWS. I thought it would just be a fun deck to use this time of year. And I enjoy this one. I like the artwork. I think it's cool, even though it is pretty RWS based. It is getting dark here, so I'm sorry. I think I'll probably just have to stop and get this posted. And then later show you what else I'm going to use with all this stuff. But just wanted to show you a few things that I'm using this season. But that's the Illusory Dream. And there's the back. All right, thanks for watching. See ya.